Welcome to the Parentteening Show. We are your hosts,
Dr. Sharmila.
and Ashley. And in our podcast, The Parentteening Show, we want to get candid about having teenagers at home and also being a teenager.
Plus, we love having conversations in this family, and now you can be a part of it as well.
Awesome. So also subscribe because we're going to be making super fun and entertaining podcasts, and we will be posting every single Monday.
Nice. And in today's show, we're going to be talking about a topic that's quite a stinging topic, but I still want to know Ashley's view on it. And yes, so the topic for the day is, am I a bad parent? What do you think, Ashley?
Well, no, that's not the topic. We're not talking about you specifically, but we're just talking about something that I've seen a lot of like kids go through, but I've also seen like families go through, and that is are they not good enough as a parent or a child or a student? So I'm going to turn the question around and ask you, do you think you're a good parent or a bad parent?
Wow, I didn't see this coming.
Ah.
Okay. I do have my moments where I question being a parent, and I've definitely had those days where I'm just, I've hit the bed crying and feeling that,
Aw.
I am such a bad parent. I've just not been able to live up to my own expectations or the expectations that the world has put around me. Or every time I see there's something that's hurting you, and I'm not able to be there for you, I kind of go back to this victim mode where I keep thinking that I'm a bad parent and I wish you had a better parent and stuff like that.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yes.
And like the reason we wanted to talk about this is, I mean, it's definitely a touchy subject for a lot of people. But I also think that this is a legitimate concern that a lot of parents have. And like, I think if you just talk about it with your kids, that concern becomes a little less concerning, at least for the time being.
Very well said. Okay, so what do you think? Am I a bad parent?
Oh, well.
I'm waiting to pick your brains, and I'm sure it's entertaining for you as well. While we're making fun of the topic, these are some hidden facts that actually go in, and it's better to talk about it so that everyone is aware of it, and we can actually help address some of the mental health issues that goes in. Sometimes I feel that people don't talk about certain things that really hurt them, and suddenly they turn into this pressure cooker waiting to let the steam out. So before it gets hot, what do you think, Ashley? Am I a bad parent?
No, I don't think you're a bad parent. I think you definitely have your moments.
I like that.
Where I think, well, she's being mean to me and stuff like that. But I think that at the end of the day, your intentions and your heart, they're in a good place. Now, have I ever thought about some of the decisions you made and thought to myself, what was she thinking? But I also truly believe that with the given resources that you've had every time, you've made the decisions that like felt best to you at that time, and I respect that.
Super.
So yeah, I don't think you're a bad parent. I don't know why you worry about it or cry yourself. What?
Yes.
But I mean, on the other side, the like obviously the other side of the spectrum is kids telling themselves that they're not good enough. Like my mom, she's a doctor, she's an entrepreneur, she's gotten like so many awards, and like she's someone that I look up to. But there have been a lot of times that I've asked myself, well, she's such a nice person and she does so much for me. Am I really living up to the person that I can be? Am I being a bad child? And yeah.
Wow, wow. Oh my goodness. I hear you, Ashley. And I think most children go through it, and it's very tough having to carry that weight or live
Yeah.
up to someone's expectations. So no, you're not a bad child
Oh,
at all.
I love
And
you.
and I just want you to know that I love you the way you are. And no matter what, I've always got your back. You know, that one statement can help you go a long way. And to carry that, living up to your parents' expectation can sometimes
That sucks, honestly.
yes, it does.
Yeah.
It does. And you know, there are times that you just want to either rebel,
Yeah.
or you want to resent it. Meaning,
Yeah.
that's what I see children doing, is because they're not able to bring out their voice and tell their parents what they really want. Either they start rebelling, or they start resenting the whole thing, both of which is not okay.
Yeah, and it ultimately affects like your relationship with your child or your relationship with your parent, and that's just something that like we just don't want. But I think the crux of this episode and what we want to base this podcast episode on is that as a kid there are things that we think about, our shortcomings, and as parents you guys clearly have things that you think you're not good enough for and stuff like that. But as long as these two things are kept separate and in our own head, yeah, I think that's where so many like fights and so many insecurities and all of this, it's like a breeding ground for that. But
You
if
know,
yeah.
I want to share one of my breakthrough moments when I had it with my mentor, Mr. Blair Singer. I mean, I used to always keep thinking about, am I a bad parent? I'm just not good enough. And these were all things that was just going on in my head. And one day when I was there with him, we were going through our session, and then he just asked me, and what is your greatest problem? And I said, you know, maybe I'm just not living up to expectations. I wish I was a better parent to Ashley. And then he just directly looked into my eyes and said, you know, get this one thing straight. You're never going to be a perfect parent, and you're never going to have a perfect child.
Yep.
So you are your imperfect self, and she is going to be her imperfect self. And that's the perfection of your relationship if you can accept it. And wow, that was profound. That was completely profound for me. And it actually helped me understand and accept the human in me and the human in Ashley as well. So that's actually helped us. And I'm sure if you can start looking at things that way and accepting your imperfections, the relationship would become beautiful and imperfectly perfect.
Okay, so quick questions, because this is really exciting, and I think it's pretty entertaining to talk about as well. Tell me like one instance where you something happened and you were just like, oh my god, like why am I such a not so
bad
good
parent.
like I'd love to know, and I'm sure the people listening would love to know as well, like what's one moment. And I'll share a moment where I felt like a bad kid.
Superb. Okay. Wow. Okay, this was this one time when Ashley was in her residential school.
Ooh,
And I was not in Chennai. That's where my hometown is. I was traveling, and I was in Kerala, and I had to attend one meeting. So, and I get a call from Ashley's school saying she had been bitten by an insect. Initially, I didn't take it too too seriously. I was like, okay, it's just an insect bite, so take her to the doctor and let me know how it was. And after about 15-20 minutes, her principal calls me back and tells me the doctor there is feeling that it could be a snake bite. Oh my god. And my heart literally skips a beat. I mean, what are you telling? Yeah, it could be a snake bite. And I'm just speechless. Actually, school was almost 100 kilometers away from the city, so they had to bring her back by car, and I had to call my mom to go and get her. And then I called the doctor saying keep the emergency room ready. And it took almost about an hour and a half to get Ashley from that school to the Whew, I mean, I'm
It's okay, it's
still
okay. Calm down.
panting talking about it. To the hospital, and then when the doctor at the hospital told me that everything was fine, she just had to take some antibiotics and everything was perfect.
Yeah. So my question
Till
here,
that time,
yeah,
the only thought that was running inside my head was, I am such a bad parent. I'm not there with my child. I've just not been there. Things could have gone so wrong and all of that. And I was I was helpless, and it was a difficult moment for me. So yeah.
okay. So here's the thing, guys, and this is where we always talk about there being two sides to one story, like there's two sides to one coin. And while my mom was going through this whole dilemma of being a bad parent and feeling helpless and all of that, here I am. Okay, so the school that I was in, it was a pretty strict school, and we had rules like you're not allowed to go outside, you're not allowed to have chocolates, and just things like that. So essentially, when I got bit, like this bite was, I mean, it didn't hurt or anything like that. Okay, it was just swollen up, and I was super excited to go to the doctor because that meant a ride out of school. And when the doctor said, hey, you need to get this checked out, I knew that I was going home, and I was super excited for that. I mean, my mom literally, if you guys could see her, she's face palming herself right now. And I still remember that being one of the most happiest memories of my time in that school. Because, I mean, there was this ride back home, and my grandmother, she's coming to pick me up with biryani, like hot biryani there. And I remember eating that and then going to the doctor at the main hospital, and like a bunch of these medical students, like 15 medical students around me, trying to diagnose what happened. And I was just calmly sitting there. And then I remember my grandmother took me to the bookstore nearby, and I come back home and eat like really good food. I remember having the time of my life. And for a second, I didn't think like, oh my God, my mom isn't taking care of me or anything like that. I was honestly grateful that you were able to like talk and take action and quickly get me there. But yeah, honestly, it was great. I loved that day.
I hated it. Okay. So when was your moment? What's your story?
Okay, so I'm sure if you guys have been following us for a while, you know this story. But for everyone who's new, I'll talk about this. So till fifth grade, so till the end of fifth grade, I used to be a pretty good student. So I used to get A grades, and things were really great and stuff like that. But then when I came to sixth grade, I had to kind of shift from the primary school to a more senior school. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, okay.
High secondary.
Yeah, no,
secondary.
Well,
okay,
no.
from fifth grade to sixth grade.
So like middle school, middle school,
yeah.
Right? So I come to middle school, and everything changes, right? So from the school or from the class that I was a part of, I was put into a different class. And I feel like over that summer, all my friends had just like grown up. So now we were talking about boys and having phones and all of these different things. And I just remember feeling super confused. And I suddenly, you and I started fighting a lot. We were having family problems. So my academics started going down. I was getting bullied in that school. And by the end of sixth grade, there was a parent teachers meeting that happened. And I just knew that I had done badly in all my exams. But going there to that school with my mom and having the teacher kind of throw the report card, at us, and tell my mom that, hey, your daughter is definitely not cut out for this prestigious school. I might think that she has done learning disabilities, and I think you should consider putting her in a different school. And I remember looking over and my mom crying, like crying in a sixth grade classroom. And I just remember feeling like, the worst kid ever, because somewhere, even though we were fighting and all of that, I knew that she was working so hard and making sure that I was comfortable at home, and everything was taken care of. And I felt like, okay, so the way that I'm paying her back is by getting bad grades. And that just felt super sad, and it just made me feel really, really, really sad.
Okay, let me tell you
Ah.
my side of the story. What was actually going on inside my head was that Ashley was going through a lot of challenges at home, and I didn't realize that she was going through challenges in school as well. So, what I really wanted to do there was to be with her and help her through the journey. That's when I realized that as a parent, I had to just be there and support her through this whole period so that she can take her journey to the next level, and just not accept what the world was throwing at her, saying that she's not cut out for that school. So that was what was going on inside my mind, and it was never for a moment that I was thinking of how bad a child you were or anything like that. No, not at all.
See, I mean, I think this is kind of reiterating on the point that we're all going through these inner demons and just things that are going through inside our head. And 99% of the time, they're not, I mean, they're legitimate to you, but if you just talk it out with your parent or your child, then you know that there's another way or a different perspective that they're looking at it from. And like, I remember you telling me that, okay, cut. And that's why the reason that we started this podcast was so we can be candid about these things. And obviously it's not easy talking about experiences where you felt like a bad person or a child or parent, but I think it is important. And once we start opening up, then things become easier to go through, because whenever you go through something alone, it's scary, but when you have someone who you can talk to about these things, it makes the whole thing better.
100%. And if that one person is your parent or your child, then it makes the journey that much more interesting
and beautiful.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So thank you so much for tuning in into this episode of our podcast, The Parentteening Show. We really, really hope that you enjoyed this and found value from this. And we would love to know, guys, have you ever felt like a bad parent or a bad child? And if you have, what have you done about it? Or what are you going to do about it?
Super. Thank you so much for joining in, and we hope you take good care of yourself. Until we meet you next time. Ciao.